All right, for starters, I recommend that you start practicing sitting down, and you're in a chair or a stool that was without arms, so you have plenty of room to move around and get comfortable. You want to make sure that the chair or stool is low enough to the ground, or that there are braces on the legs or whatever, so that your knee is at a 90-degree angle or slightly less. That gives you a nice comfortable way to rest your guitar on your leg. We'll go over strap height later. For now, practice sitting down, unless you got some back problem or whatever. It's a good comfortable way to start. The other thing that you want to make sure you're doing, especially if you're in a stool, it's really easy to lean too far forward and put too much strain on your back, which you won't notice, for a while when you're practicing, but you might get up and your upper back, maybe even your lower back's going to be a little bit sore. So make sure that you're not hunched over your guitar too much. Make sure you're sitting upright. Check your posture every now and again, and just make sure you're not slouching too much. Now, a real common mistake when people start playing is positioning their left arm strangely. You want to make sure that when you've got your hand out here, that your elbow isn't too far in or too far out. When people start fretting chords, sometimes they'll bring their elbow in here to compensate for their hand not being coordinated enough to play the chord. Don't do that. Make sure your wrist is nice and straight, and that you're leaving plenty of room between your arm and your body. As far as left hand position, what you want to start out doing is make sure that this joint of your thumb right here is placed on the hump of the neck, or the highest part of the neck, directly in the middle. So if I show you the back of the neck, here's where my thumb ought to be. Here's the joint of my thumb, and it's right in the middle of the neck where the curvature is at its peak. That's going to give me plenty of support when I'm playing notes. That's going to give me plenty of grip when I'm playing chords. Having my thumb here also gives me plenty of room for my hand to move around out here. Notice if I have my thumb up here, as you see some guitarists do, it limits the amount of hand you have in front of the neck, and makes it harder to play. It's okay to get to this point eventually, but for now, make sure that your thumb is back and that you've got plenty of hand out here to deal with things. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the guitar. Most electric guitars are played through an amp. So let's talk a little bit about the amp. Grab your instrument cable, plug it into your guitar, turn your amp on, and make some noise. Most basic amps, and you want to start with a pretty basic amp, are going to have the following sections. They're going to have a volume knob. They're going to have a general EQ with highs, lows, and mids that you can turn to get your tone in kind of exactly the way you want it. And then they're going to have a pre and a post section, and this is where some people get confused. Your pre and your post section is going to be part of the second channel on a 2-channel amp, which most amps are. You're going to have a clean channel, and you're going to have a dirty channel. Your dirty channel, which is the channel I'm on now, is going to give you the distorted sound that you hear on most rock music. And the pre and the post knobs are going to be able to determine how much distortion you have versus how much clean sound you have on that channel. Your post acts as the overall volume for that channel. Your pre acts as the amount of gain, or the amount of dirtiness that you're going to have. And those usually operate independently of the clean volume. So if you've got a foot pedal or just this little switch on your amp, you can set 2 different sounds and switch back and forth. Some amps have a shared EQ, share high, low, and mid knobs, and some amps have different high, low, and mid knobs for each one of those channels. I recommend when we start practicing chords that you have a pretty clean sound to start out with, and of course, experiment as much as you possibly can with different sounds and find out what works for you. So there's a summary on your amp, and a good first look at the guitar. Join me for my next lesson, in the beginner lesson series where we're going to start learning our first chords.